Now we're going to move on to the second course. So this was the module, the first course on the module, which was the impact of different leadership qualities and skills in organizations. The second one is the theories, the models, and the principles of the leadership. So this second part is mostly run by what are the leadership theories, because there's many of them. So we can cover a little bit of those to kind of give you a short concept to what these theories are all about, which comes with many models, and they kind of covering a few of the theories that can be applied into the organizations. So let's have a look at the second one now. This is module 2, the theories of leadership, of course. So therefore, looking at some of these theories, the leadership theories, we have a couple of them, especially when it comes across the leadership styles. I've already mentioned 3 of them at the beginning, such as democratic leadership style, autocratic leadership style, laissez-faire leadership style. You may have heard them before, or maybe they could be new to you. These are ways on the styles that can be used in different situations. There's a couple more. We have the transformational leadership style as well. There is the transactional leadership style. There's also, when it comes to cognitive leadership style and situational leadership style. These styles are called styles because leaders can be able to use them in different situations in the company. So, for example, if we've got an organization that has got maybe a couple of problems in managing the task, and the staff members may have not got the opportunity to complete the task on time or by meeting the deadline. Therefore, the leadership now can be able to use either the transformation leadership style, where they can come across and looking at ways on how they can transform and change some of the tasks to kind of meet along with the deadline, or they can be able to look at the situation in detail to apply more of a reinforcement of what happened there. So they can be a supportive leadership, so a supportive leader. At the same time, they can also look at how they can manage that situation or how they can lead that situation forward. They may have to look on the ways on how to maybe compromise with their staff members as well, because they don't want to demotivate them, but at the same time, those tasks needed to be accomplished by the deadline as well. So that needs to be applied according to the situation of the company. And there's many other ones. So if you're looking at the autocratic one, if the tasks again are not being managed or the deadline are not being managed, they may use a one-way system. So they will be able to ask all their employees to interact and come across at achieving by that specific timing, or they can give them a specific approach on how they can do it and how they can meet it. So it can be more of a one-way system rather than two interacting with each other. So that's why they are called leadership styles, simply because each of them have these approaches towards coming across and fulfilling the different situations and applying the styles in those different situations. Okay, so looking at the leadership theories, therefore, because this particular subject area, when it comes to learning about the leadership theories, the models, and the principles of them, is all about looking at what these theories have suggested about leadership and how can they be used in the organizations to kind of fulfill the role of leadership itself. So the learning outcome for the particular session is to research on the current theories and learn about what they are, looking at some of the principles and the models of those leadership, and to be able to appreciate these different leadership theories and models so therefore they can be passed on onto the organizations and can be used in real life experience. When it comes to evaluating and looking at the leadership theories is to also look at some of the advantages and the disadvantages of them. because that way we could be able to identify all of these areas of focus and how they are, of course, relevant. Because some of these theories can be published quite a long time ago, some of them can be quite current, but again, how useful they are, it's all related to the organization and how the organization can be able to use them. So those were the learning outcomes for the particular second session. And now looking at some examples of these leadership theories and models is all about identifying the, again, going back to the leader's improvement, the leader's skills and their capability in fulfilling their roles in the organization. There's many of these theories. I'm going to mention a couple of them. I'm not sure if you've heard about these, but if you haven't, that's fine. You're going to learn all about them in this particular course. The first is the great men theory. The great men theory was published quite a long time ago, and they were only focused on one. It's more of an autocratic leadership style because they were all focused on how can leadership tend to sort of direct everyone forward, and everyone have to do the jobs, and everyone have to do those activities and tasks and complete them, and there was no exception besides that. So it's a very strong type of leadership theory that it was based on everyone in the organization that they all have to follow it, and they all have to do what they've been told. So it's a kind of an obeying type of leadership theory. Then the other one is the trait theory. A trait theory is based on characteristics and personalities. And then we have the behavioral theories. This is mostly about the role of the leader and how the leaders tend to behave. What are some of the, not just capabilities, but their ability on their behavior and what influences their behavior as well. Then we have the participative leadership, which comes from two different authors. One is Lewin's leadership styles, which is going back to the styles that we've discussed previously: autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire. Also, we've got bureaucratic, we've got transformational, transactional, so there's a couple of different styles. And Likert leadership styles also is another author that come across to his perception to what these styles of leadership are. And then we have the situational leadership, which goes back to the example on the company. So if the staff members are not fulfilling their role, for example, or they're not meeting the deadlines, then the leader has to adapt into that situation and come across in a way that they can manage and fulfill it. So it's kind of developing into the situations to what is currently happening in the organization. Contingency theory, the contingency is more of a strategic side, so it's kind of looking at developing ways on leading everyone forward, and at the same time they need to look at the perspective of their employees, so how they can achieve their goals, how they can maintain their roles and responsibilities, and what should be the main focus of the leader to do when it comes across towards their staff members. Transaction leadership is another one. This is also transactional leadership and transformational leadership can also be developed as a style because the leader can be able to adapt into those situations that can arise from organizations. And when these particular situations arise, they'll need to transform their way of managing by looking at the situation. So if they needed to have support, then they will be supportive. If they need to be directive, they need to direct them forward. If they need to maybe communicate and explain to their staff members to what they should be doing, then again they will come across as becoming more interactive and participative leader. So every situation that can come across in companies, they can transform their own styles and apply specifically to each of those situations that can happen in any organization. And they can adapt through these situations by making sure that they solve any problems and they make the correct decision making. And also the staff members are happy. They're happy that they are engaging and they're happy on the process of how they run it. So transactional and transformational, we're kind of looking at how the leaders can adapt to these situations and use their decision making and their problem solving, as well as motivating and inspiring people at the same time, because they don't want to lose the commitment of staff members while they use their leadership styles. Which is why that we've got all of these theories to identify each of how they're being used and what each of them are about, so therefore they can be used into companies. There's a model of concern for people, which comes across to looking at the team management and the authority at the same time, because sometimes some people may like to be in charge. So some staff members are like to be motivated by power. Others may be motivated by achievement. Others may be motivated by hard working. They like to work hard and they are motivated by it. So we have different individuals that have different ways of motivation. And this particular model is kind of looking at what is the authority that should be placed by management and by leadership, and how the team itself can be managed and can be led forward. And that depends, because even with teams and group of people, they can be so different with one another that perhaps one leadership style can work very well for one type of a team, but when it comes across to the other team, they have to change it around and apply a different way of leadership or a different way of management, just because people there can have different characteristics and different ways of being motivated or different ways of being inspired. So that's why leadership is so in detail, and it covers all of these theories and styles to have an overview of what can work with people in organizations. And the way that people can be managed and can be led has a lot of areas that can be challenging, can be complex, but at the same time can be very easy. So it all reflects back on the type of a business and how that company would like to be achieving their goals that they have set up, and how the leadership wanting to be inspiring their individuals. So therefore, looking at going back to the leadership theories, so the contingency one, with the contingency styles and situations, this can be a kind of sort of affect the leader on how effective that framework can be. So the sort of the leader's relations with their staff members is very good. Sometimes as well, if leaders are very friendly with their staff members, the staff members may not even take them too seriously, because they may say that, oh, you are our friend, you're working together with us, and that they make that bond and relationship, which therefore, when it comes to making those achievements, so fulfilling the tasks and achieving the deadlines, the leader, therefore, if they're trying to become too authoritative, the staff members may not be happy, and they may sort of have a conflict when it comes across their relationship. So leaders, they have to create some type of a relationship with their staff, but not very close and not very far either. So there have to be that professional side to it when it comes to relating to their staff members. And having a structure in the company is always very useful as well, because that structure is a type of a system that can show who the staff members should be contacting, who they should be speaking to if they have any issues, if they need to maybe get an extension on their deadline, or perhaps if they need some extra support or some training, then they have to have that structure in place so they can have a good sort of communication with each other. But at the same time, that system will help to function both sides. So if management needs to contact their staff, or if staff members need to contact their management, or leaders need to be speaking to their staff or to their followers, and therefore vice versa. So they have to have that communication process and a structure in place that is very important. And then when it comes across to building up those interpersonal relationships, especially with the contingency theory, that yes, task motivated leaders are useful because the staff members will be motivated, but the leaders are also motivated, and therefore they can reach the goal. But sometimes with the relationship motivated leaders, this can affect level of conflicts in case there are problems or issues in the department, which therefore the leader have to transform their style and go back to maybe a different one so he can work with their staff. Contingency theory has quite a couple of examples. So it is with the transformational leadership theory, because there's a couple of these. With the transformational one, because this one is how the leader affects the followers and how the followers are intended to trust them or admire them or respect them. And because it goes back to those vice versa, you've got the leaders that can affect the followers and inspire them and direct them. At the same time, the followers need to be trusting the leader and they can admire and as well as respect the leader. So the transformational leader itself can be creating awareness as well as importance and value. At the same time, they can focus on the goals and the interest of their staff members or their followers. So there's quite a bit of examples when it comes across to all of these theories. Just to remember that every theory that covers with leadership, it does apply into different situations on specific areas of how the company would like to be achieving them and what exactly they want to be achieving. So what is their specific goal? And making everyone run through these leadership theories is a way of providing not just a system, but a direction of what can work with motivating these staff members. So we've covered Lewin's leadership styles. There is the Black Mountain managerial grid, which is a model. You can have a look at these later on in your course as well. You'll be showing all of them. The path goal theory, 6 emotional leadership styles is the other one, transformational and transactional leadership theories as well that apply into the different situations that can be useful for companies and leaders to use.